All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thursday night football, week number 14. I think we're in store for a good one here. We got the Lions taking on the Packers. In today's video, I'm going to dive into this game. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. Got a couple player prop spots that I'm eyeing right now as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down below on the pinned comment of this video for information about the final plays. You can see what I'm actually rolling with myself, completely free over on the Guy Boston Sports site. Just make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment. Now, before we do get into this game, got a couple things to either recap or go through. So we'll start with that recap. We'll take the cha-ching. I don't know what we're doing right this season, but another profitable week in the NFL last week. 13 weeks in, and only 3 weeks have been red now. Not every week has been super green, and we're making tons of units and all that. But 10 of those 13 weeks we have been in the green, which is crazy to say. Last week we pick up 1.46 units thanks to some of our plus money hits, like Tyrone Tracy anytime touchdown on Thanksgiving. We had the Eagles money line as well. Some really good plays there in terms of just plus money. But then overall, Jonathan Taylor, that's an even odds hit. The Eagles, we had the points with them as well. We had the Rams money line. They came back and won. DJ Moore went off in the second half. So pretty good week overall, and we managed the units pretty damn well. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about, guys, was Sleeper. If you have not checked out Sleeper yet, you're absolutely missing out. I'll have a link in the description and in the pinned comment if you do want to try this out, guys. You're going to get an amazing deposit match, and you're going to get a Jordan Love 0.5 passing yards line. And if you look at this on Wednesday, if you're watching this on Wednesday, you can even get this discounted Tyrese Maxey card as well. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, that link will be down below. You're not just going to get this free square or potentially that discounted square. You're also going to get an amazing deposit match as well. If you don't know what Sleeper is, it is a DFS app in which you pick more or less based on player set projections. Obviously, we're going to be taking more on these discounted ones. You throw them into an entry. The more you win, the more you get paid out. And each and every square you put into that entry will change that payout dynamically. It doesn't just follow a fixed payout structure like most other apps. So go ahead and check out Sleeper, guys. Again, that link will be down below. Take advantage of this really, really good deposit offer going on as of right now. But let's go ahead and talk some football here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get rocking here. We have Detroit as 4-point favorites at home. Total sitting at 51.5. Now, these two teams did meet earlier in the year, and Detroit won that one in Green Bay, 24-14. Detroit right now 11-1 straight up, 9-3 against the number, 5-1 at home. Green Bay 9-3 straight up, but 6-6 against the number, and then 4-1 on the road. So I will say this before we even go into this one and make our case and whatnot, or go through the teams. This is one of those games where you can make a good point and good argument on either side of it. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that or don't look for that sort of on the fenceness when coming to these types of videos, but that is just the honest truth. Both of these teams are very, very good, both on offensive sides of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball. Both teams are very good. So whatever I'm saying in this one, you don't need to change your mindset. Take it with a grain of salt. It's not the gospel truth, right? So like I said, Detroit taking on Green Bay. Let's just go through the injury report for Detroit first, because I do think that that's one of the biggest things to note. We've started to see the injury bug get to them. And look at this defense. Like, that's lit up like a damn Christmas tree, right? They have a ton of injury reserve guys, most notably Anzalone, as well as Aiden Hutchinson. And then they even have some questionabilities. Now, there's a lot of questionabilities throughout the league right now. We are in week 14, right? And there are some on the offensive side as well. But this defense, I'll definitely come back to making this point later on in the video, because obviously it is just such a serious, kind of blow to what is arguably, and some people don't even believe arguably, they just believe it's the outright truth, the best team in the league. Injury bug could be getting them. Now, from the Green Bay side of things, they do have some red lights on there, but a lot of questionabilities. And I already mentioned, when guys are questionable in week 14 in the NFL, there should be no surprises there, right? If these guys are practicing, whether they're limited or full participants, usually they end up playing. Now, from where these two teams rank and how they've been playing, let's start with the DVOA rankings down here. Detroit, the number 1 DVOA team in the league through 13 weeks. You can see number 3 on the offensive end, number 2 on the defensive end. They've been amazing against the pass. They've been amazing overall, right? Green Bay starting to put things together. The number 5 DVOA ranked team right now in the league, number 4 offensively, 3rd in pass, 5th in the rush, and then above the average here in terms of defense at 13. And their defense has actually looked pretty good as of late. These are their last 3 games over here. 8th fewest points allowed, right? 5th best in terms of passing yards per game, and causing the 10th most turnovers. So obviously that's good, some good stuff to note on the Green Bay side of things. Now, what I will say is both of these teams have had somewhat of a cakewalk in the last, I would say, 3 weeks, 3 games, okay? You have Detroit, who played Miami, 30-17 win on Thanksgiving. Clap it up, good win for them. San Francisco, that San Francisco team is not the San Francisco team we think of as of late. They won 38-10. Then they played the Bears, 20-19. That Bears team gave them a run for their money. Speaking of that team giving them a run for their money, Detroit wins on Thanksgiving. They were up big in that game. They end up winning that one 23-20 against the Bears. And honestly, when it came down to the end there with the timeout or no timeout call, like, who knows how that game could have ended. So that Bears team gave both of these two a run for their money. They beat Indianapolis the game prior 24-6, then smoked Jacksonville 52-6. So where do I come out on this game? I already mentioned both sides you can make an argument for, right? I do think that I'm going to take those points in the pocket with Green Bay at +4. This is a huge game for them, obviously. These two teams should be fairly close when it comes down to it, especially with the injuries that Detroit is dealing with. And given the fact that, this has been such a good pass defense for Detroit, a lot of the guys that are injured, like Anzalone kind of in the middle of the defense there, Aiden Hutchinson rushing the passer, right? Like, these are things that are going to impact that number one passing defense greatly, and their secondary not exactly all that healthy either, right? So I do think that this is a spot. I mean, their secondary, I guess you can make the argument, one of the healthier units, but again, that's not saying much. But overall, the defense to me is just going to slowly work against the Lions, and this has been a Green Bay team that I have doubted for weeks and weeks, and their only recent loss was against Detroit. You don't think that they're licking their chops and chomping at the bit here, being like, let's try and get this team back? Now, Detroit is a powerhouse, and I get it. I don't think Detroit's offense is going to have many problems against this Green Bay defense, even though I'm giving that Green Bay defense the credit it deserves as of late. If we even look at the last 3 games in terms of, how good their defense has been, we can see it right here, right? Rushing yards per game. They're just ranked 19th, 115.7 rushing yards per game. Detroit averaging 146 on the ground offensively over the last 3 weeks. So this is not a spot in which I say, hey, Green Bay's defense, shows up and stops the Lions. No, it's more of a Green Bay's offense shows up. The Lions are so banged up that they're not going to be able to stop them when push comes to shove. So it's going to be score, 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 score. And I'll like having that number that's greater than a field goal in my back pocket. So that's kind of how I see the game going. I guess I'm kind of sort of alluding to an over as well. I could see this one being a fairly high scoring game. Now, last time they played, yes, we saw, what was it? I said 24-14, right? But based on these two offenses, Green Bay averaging, 20, 38, 30, that's plenty of points. I think that's like 25, 24 points per game over the last 3. The Lions, with that Jacksonville game included, are averaging well over 30 over the last 3. So these two teams combined, if the offenses show up, regardless of defense, we should be able to put some points on the board. So I'll lean towards the over as well. But again, my biggest thing, and maybe I'm off on this, maybe I'm, making a boulder out of an anthill, whatever the heck the saying is. Maybe I am putting too much emphasis on the injuries, but the way the Bears came back against Detroit shows that you can start to build momentum and take advantage of some of these voids that are now on this Lions team. So I think Green Bay should be able to do what, Chicago did in the second half to a better degree, meaning they'll be able to move the ball and answer anytime the Lions score, which I don't think the Lions are going to be able to make that big stop when they need to. So give me Green Bay plus the 4, as well as the over 51.5. I do have a couple player props that I'm looking at as of right now. So let's go ahead and dive into those. The first one is going to be Jayden Reed, over 3.5 receptions. I would also kick around his yards here at 48.5, but he just has not been all that tremendous as of late. Now, that being said, the Bears, decent in terms of receiving yards against. The Giants, decent in terms of receiving yards against. The Dolphins, decent in terms of receiving yards against. Detroit allowing the most receiving yards against 2 opposing players this season, at least opposing wide receivers, right? And that makes sense. They've been up in a lot of their games. A lot of teams are passing on them. So there's plenty of quantity versus quality to take into account here. But I do think Jayden Reed, being the slot guy, it plays like 70-something% out of the slot, is going to have a lot more opportunity to be able to find those holes in the defense and whatnot that are there primarily because of the gaps in the injuries and whatnot. So yeah, I like him to catch 4 balls. That's -146 over on FanDuel. If you want to get a little bit more frisky, you go 5+ catches for +140 over there. But I think I might just look at it from the safe perspective. This season, he's hit this in 6 of 12 games, so 50-50. Definitely struggling as of late, but what I like is the fact that he's still having these high targeted spots, right? 6 targets, 2 times over the last few weeks, and though they do spread it out, and there's been kind of like a who's going to be the main wide receiver for this Green Bay team on a week-to-week basis, he still is leading the charge in terms of wide receiver targets at 17.2. Now, you could see a lot of guys are in the same boat, so if you're going to rag on this pick and not like it, I do understand it, and I do get it. I'm not going to try and throw it in your face and blow smoke up your you know what. I think this is a good spot for him because he's a slot wide receiver, but I can also see someone making an argument being like, well, he's been iced out in games. As good as he is, it's not always the number one receiver. He's not always the number one receiver on a week-to-week basis. Next one I'm going to look at here is going to be Sam Laporta. I like him over 38.5 receiving yards. Last time he played them, he had 28. Oh, by the way, I should probably show you what Jayden Reed did against Detroit last time they played. 5 catches, so that's great. He got targeted there. But Sam Laporta, didn't have all that many receiving yards. In terms of catches, he only had 2 catches. He took it for 20-something yards. But this is a Green Bay defense that struggles to some degree against the tight end position. These are their game logs against as of late. Jonnu Smith, 113. He had 10 for 113. We had Cole Kmet have 42. You saw Sam Laporta last time didn't play all that well, but 60 from Strange. Trey McBride had 96 on them. There's been plenty of times in this year so far when tight ends have some success here against Green Bay. And even if you look at it from a DVOA to the position standpoint, Green Bay, the 3rd worst team in terms of being ranked against tight ends. They're ranked at 30th there. Plays per game and passing yards per game, top 5. Yards per game to the tight end, you can see here, top 6. So I do think that Laporta should have a decent workload, or at least a decent volume behind him. He only had 6 yards last week, which is absolutely crazy because the guy scored 2 touchdowns against Chicago. So if you do want to look at him to score a touchdown, you get it for plus 250 as of right now. The one thing that I will say is he didn't score against them last time, and even if we look at it from this perspective, he's gone score, no score, score, no score, score, no score. He had 2 last week. I don't envision him definitely getting in there for the touchdown, especially when there's just so many damn guys on this Lions team to be able to go out there and score a touchdown. But I guess I don't mind it for the odds that we're at there. So those are the 2 spots that I'm targeting as of right now. Keep an eye on the final plays to see if we do add anything. If we add anything that we didn't talk about in today's video, I will make sure to give a little blurb, like a bullet point on the Guy Boston site, kind of letting you know why, maybe add some screenshots. But as of right now, the plays that I'm looking at is going to be Green Bay plus the 4 points, with the caveat that I understand it if you're on the Lions, and I'm just being transparent about that. I'm not going to fake confidence for content, but I do like the plus 4 points. I like the over. I don't think either one of these teams will have the easiest of defensive matchups here. I think that they're going to have some offense here. And then Jayden Reed over in receptions and Sam Laporta over in yards. I also don't mind Sam Laporta over in receptions. His is at 3.5 too, but again, we've seen him not exactly have the biggest of target shares, so he could take one of these passes and run it for 40 yards if he gets lucky, and that's only 1 catch. So that's why I'm going more yards for Sam Laporta. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 13. Lucky number 13. We all know that number has no negative connotations to it whatsoever. Yikes. But comment 13 if you made it this far in the video. You made it all the way to the end, and I do truly appreciate it, guys. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.